So, good afternoon once more. You are again welcome for biology class. I think this is our second lesson this week. This is it then? Yeah, I think this is the first lesson this week. So we have a question. So today we are going to revise paper 1. So we are going to look at paper 1 revision. Paper 1 revision. Remember, last week we have been revising paper 2. But there are some questions we didn't revise in paper 2. But today I want us to look at this paper 1. There are some questions to do with essays. I think we have not. I think we discussed one essay. We have not discussed about the graph. So please let us embark on this one. Then we shall go back to the paper 2. So to break that particular monotony. So now that is the question. So the question is right clear here. We are during a biological trip. That is paper 1 question. During a biological trip, plants that had flowers, plants that had flowers, drew the attention of the student. Drew the attention of the students. Drew the attention of the students. So you know the plants are having, the plants they have flowers. So the first question you are being asked here, the part A of that number 1, you name the subdivision of the plant. So remember these plants they are having flowers. So the first question you are being asked to name the what? To name the subdivision. You name the subdivision of the plant. So here a student must learn from what you call the taxonomic units. Remember that question has come from topic, that is the first topic in Form 3 about the subdivision. Remember in Form 1, yes we have classification, but we don't go deep into divisions and subdivision. In Form 1 is just, we just give a brief of what classification is and maybe the taxonomic units. We don't go deep into the several phylum and maybe under the phylum. We don't go deep into divisions and maybe subdivisions as in Form 3. So this is a question which has come from the first topic in Form 3, that is classification 2. So the examiner is asking, you name the subdivision of this particular plant. The plant, the keyword there, the plants are having the flowers. The plants, they have flowers. So if you have been told the plants, they have flowers, what comes in your mind as far as the subdivisions is concerned? Remember, here a student will embark on what we call the taxonomic units. Taxonomic units, or what we call the classification units, taxonomic units. The groups in which organisms with similar characteristics are placed. So we have the taxonomic unit. The first one, we have the kingdom. Then from kingdom we have phylum. Phylum stroke division. So we are saying phylum stroke division because phylum is a term used for animals, then we use division for plants. So phylum stroke divisions, then we have class, then from class we always have order, then from order we always have what? Family, then from family we always have what we call genus, then we have the species. The species is the smallest. The species is the smallest and the lowest taxonomic units. Members under this group, they always naturally interbreed or freely interbreed to give rise to a fertile or what you call a viable offspring. So this is the last and the smallest taxonomic units. But now the largest and the highest is the kingdom. The largest and the highest taxonomic unit. So the question is tested on this question is testing on the second taxonomic unit, which we call it phylum stroke division. So remember, we always have got phylums. Phylums, there are always 2. We have got 2 phylums, major phylums, we have 2 of them. So the major phylums we are learning high school. We have for the phylum Arthropoda, and we have the phylum Chordata. Remember, these are Latin words and they must start with capital letter, just like that. So if you write A here, small a, it is not the one we are talking about. So you say phylum Arthropoda and phylum Chordata. Then, after the phylum, on the same phylum, we have what we call division. We have what we call what? Division as per the taxonomic units. So the three divisions, and at high school level we learn about three major divisions, and three major divisions we have the spermatophyta, and we must start with capital letter, spermatophyta. Now, yes? Yes. You can't see me. Hello? You can't see me. You can't see me. Are you able now to see? Are you able to see me and even the blackboard? Are you able to see the chalkboard and even? Okay. So we're talking about. So the question is on the second taxonomic. That is why I'm trying to give an elaborate explanation on that, because the question has come from there. Is touching on the second taxonomic units. So that is why I'm talking about the second taxonomic units where we have the phylums of division. Phylum is a term used in animals. Division is used for plants. So we say at high school level we are looking at two major phylums. Though we have several phylum like Annelida, we have Mollusca, we have Polyphera, we have Echinodermata, we have Coleopterata, and many others. We have Nematoda, Annelida, all those. But now, at high school level, what is required by the Kenya National Examination for a student to know by the end of the 4-year course, a student should know about the two major phylums, Arthropoda and the Chordata. Leave alone the rest. You will learn as you advance with biology. So, other divisions, we have three major divisions here, which are tested, the spermatophyta, and we have the pteridophyta. I say the first letter must start with capital letter. The first one must be capital, so pteridophyta. And we have the bryophyta. Then, remember, this spermatophyta is the largest among the three divisions because it has got subdivision. The spermatophyta, among the three divisions, the one which is the largest is the spermatophyta because spermatophyta is again divided into angiospermatophyta and we have what we call the gymnospermatophyta and the spermatophyta. So that is the largest. And it comprises of all seed-bearing plants. All plants that bear seeds, they fall under the spermatophyta. All plants like oranges, we have beans, we have maize, all those they bear seeds and therefore they fall under the spermatophyta. So spermatophyta, as a division, has got subdivisions. So the two subdivisions I've shown we have angiospermatophyta, and we have what? Gymnospermatophyta, and we have the gymnospermatophyta. We have gymnospermatophyta. We have the angiospermatophyta and we have the gymnospermatophyta. Those are the two subdivisions which are found, within the spermatophyta. So, as per the question, a student has to know some of the characteristics of the angiospermophyta and the gymnosperms, the gymnospermine and the angiospermine. Remember, angiospermophyta again has got classes. Angiospermophyta as a subdivision has got classes. We have got two classes under angiospermophyta, where we have the monocots, monocotyledonine, and we have dicotyledonine. That is under angiospermophyta. So angiospermophyta comprise of plants. Some of the characteristics of angiospermophyta: they bear flowers. Their seeds are enclosed in a fruit wall. Yes, their seeds are enclosed within a fruit wall. Then another characteristic of the angiospermophyta, apart from bearing the flowers, another characteristic is that they have the xylem, and the xylem comprised of the tracheids and the vessels, and the phloem have the companion cell, that is the angiospermophyta. But now the two major characteristics of the angiospermophyta: they bear flowers, at the same time their seeds are enclosed in a fruit wall. Those are some of the characteristics of this one. But now gymnospermophyta comprise of plants which just bear cones. They bear cones of two types. We have the female cones and the male cones. That is the gymnospermophyta. So some of the characteristics that with them they don't bear flowers but they bear cones. Then another characteristic is that they lack what? They lack flowers. They lack flowers. They lack flowers. Then another thing is that their seeds, they bear naked seeds. Their seeds are not enclosed within a fruit wall. So those are just some of the few characteristics to distinguish the angiospermophyta from the gymnospermophyta. Then, based on the class, angiospermophyta, I've said we have got two classes. We have the monocotyledonine and we have dicotyledonine. When we come to the gymnospermophyta, also we have how many classes? Three classes. Gymnospermophyta comprised of the gymnosperms, like for example the cypress. Those ones they fall here under the gymnospermophyta. The cypress, I believe you know what you mean by the cypress trees. I think you've come across this. So we have the pines, the cypress, they fall under the gymnospermophyta. Now, so what are the classes here? Here, I've said we have the monocotyledonine and we have the dicotyledonine. I've given some of the characteristics under the gymnospermophyta and the gymnospermophyta. What about the classes of the gymnospermophyta, or what you call the gymnospermine subdivision? So some of the classes here include the ginkgoales. Then we have the cycadales, and we have the coniferales. We have what you call the what? The coniferales. So these are the three classes under the gymnospermophyta. Ginkgoales, we have the cycadales, and we have the coniferales. Three classes. So that is some of the difference you are supposed to know about the angiospermophyta and the gymnospermophyta. Angiospermophyta, we say it has got two classes. We have got dicotyledonine and monocotyledonine. So which are the plants which are found under the angiospermophyta? We have beans and we have maize. The maize is a monocot, a monocotyledonine, while beans is a dicot, therefore a dicotyledonine. So now once you have digested the question like that, now you can come and answer this question. Name the subdivision of the plants. Remember the key word here during a biological trip is that the plant had what the flowers during a biological trip. So it drew the attention of the students. Now the students are asking, which division or which subdivision is this? That is subdivision. So the answer for this question will be subdivision angiospermophyta, because angiospermophyta or angiospermine. So we can say angiospermophyta, or we can say angiospermine. The same. Yes. So the person who writes angiospermine and the person who writes angiospermophyta, you are all okay. Angiospermine, or we can say angiospermophyta. So angiospermophyta comprise of this subdivision comprised of plants which have flowers. Like for example, we have beans. Beans, they have flowers. Maize, they have flowers. Orange, they have flowers. Orange trees, they have flowers. Mango trees. So all those, they belong under all plants which bear seeds. You just know that if you have any plant which have seeds, now those plants, they fall under the subdivision, the division known as the spermatophyte. And if you realize that after taking consideration that they have flowers, now you come and ask yourselves, after knowing that they have got seed bearing, they are seed bearing, now you come and ask yourselves, are they bearing flowers or they bear cones? Now, if they bear flowers, you should know that they are angiospermophyta. But now, if they are bearing cones, like for example the pines, and the cypress trees, they bear cones, and the cones are of two types. I've said we have both the female cones and the male cones, so that is under the gymnospermophyta. So our answer for this particular question will be angiospermophyta, or we can say the angiospermine. And the first name must start with a capital letter. So the student who writes like this will not score because angiospermophyta is a Latin word, and Latin name, it was the first language of civilization, and therefore all the scientific names, they were given in Latin. Since the Latin was the first language of civilization, and remember, Latin names do not change, so that is why the scientific names, they were given Latin. So this is angiospermophyta and must start with a capital letter. Let's go to another question. Part B, you are being asked, name two possible characteristics That is the question. That is the question. So name two possible. So this is a question under the Blossom's taxonomy. Under the Blossom's taxonomy, this is a question of application. Application because a student must have known what we mean by insect pollinated. So remember, it's a question typing on classification. Which is asking about insect pollinated flowers. So insect pollinated flowers is a topic which comes from the topic of reproduction. So remember, this question, it has got two parts. It has got a topic of classification and it has got a topic of reproduction. So this is an application. A student must have read what the topic of reproduction, which is in Form 3, and a student must have a good knowledge of the topic of classification. So in short, a student here is asked about the characteristics of insect pollinated flowers. We call them entomophilous flowers. Remember, the pollination, we have got two types of pollination. We have got insect pollination and we have got wind pollinated flowers. The insect pollinated flowers, they are known as entomophilous, and we have got the wind pollinated flowers, they are called anemophilous. So here student is asked about the entomophilous, the characteristics of insect pollinated flowers. So what are some of the characteristics there? What are some of the characteristics of insect pollinated flowers? They always have what? They have got heavy pollen grains, and their pollen grains are also what? They have got heavy and sticky pollen grains. The pollen grains must be heavy and sticky so that they, as the insect crawl within the flower, they can easily stick onto the legs of the insect, where they are now transferred to another part, that is from the anther to the stigma. So that is one of the characteristics. You will find that the possible characteristics is that they are pollen grains. So we shall talk about They characterize in terms of the nature of their pollen grains. They characterize in terms of the nature of their anthers. They characterize in terms of their corolla. You find insect pollen flowers. They always have got a fine shape or a landing platforms. A landing platforms where the insects can easily stay before they get into the flower. They have got a funnel shape stroke tubular. Their corolla is tubular. They have got tubular corolla and landing platforms. Landing platforms and tubular corolla where the insects can easily land before they get into the flowers. So their corolla is tubular, so that is you can see. So remember you have been asked to name. So you are not supposed to give an elaborate explanation on this. You are just supposed to state them. They characterize, like for example, you talk about the tubular corolla. Their corolla are tubular or funnel shaped. Tubular stroke funnel shaped corolla. You talk about tubular stroke funnel shaped corolla. Yes, tubular stroke funnel shaped corolla. Then in terms of their anthers, you'll realize that they have got small anthers. Do they have small anthers or large anthers? Yes, they have got small anthers, isn't it? They have small anthers and stigma. And their stigma is also flexible. Yes, their stigma is firm. They have got the stigma is firm and the filament. The filament and the stigma is firm. Yes, a firm stigma. At the same time, the stigma is also small in size, and even the anthers. So those are some of the characteristics that the student will expect from such a flower if it is insect pollinated flowers. They have got landing platforms, they have got corolla, they have got tubular stroke funnel shaped corolla. Their corolla is funnel shaped stroke tubular so that they can easily land there. Another characteristic of these flowers, we have talked about their pollen grains. You will find their pollen grains are heavy and sticky, but you find the ones which are wind pollinated, they are always light and less sticky. So those are some of the characteristics. So a student must have read the two topics. So that means it is an application. You apply the topic of reproduction to answer this. So as per the Bloom's taxonomy, that is an application question. So that is what you are supposed to know as far as that question is concerned. So let us go to another question. Other than having many features in common, other than